Antidote of Song, whether you're in our Zoom family or on Facebook. Hey, y'all. I'm Kathy Bullock, and I'm just sending you greetings on behalf of all these folks in the Daily Antidote of Song, sponsored by the Washington Carpe Diem and the Rebels, Washington Rebels. And if you're new to us, we do this every day at about noonday, and it's marvelous. So we have a fantastic musician who's going to share with you today, an artist. But before we do, I want to personally greet everybody. So, hey, Susan, G, hey, Mac, Carolyn, Deborah, Arlene, Sarah, Terry, Shaw, Beth, hey, Lisa, Peter, Annette, Mabel, Sue, Sheila, Nicola, Kathy Mayer, hey, Bonnie Schuster, welcome, Carolyn, Julie, Jenny, and David from upstate New York. I'm going to the next page, y'all. Dan, hi, Deli, greetings. Christiana and Bob, hello. Renata, Susan Miller, hey, Sarah, Lynn, Jan, oh, I like that fireplace. Kevin, hey, Fred, hi, Karen, Anna, Storm, welcome, Luda, Sandra, Ann Lafferty, and Russ, Steve Finner, Janet, Hindi, Karen, Rob, Renee, my great friend from here in Kentucky, Nancy, Alan, Rob. Oh, I already did Rob, but did I do Karen from Arizona? I might have said you, Marnie, Gary. Oh, there's Christy. Hey. And then there are others that are joining us with their, they don't have their lovely face in live, but we see the pictures, Sarah and Katrina and Patrice, Catherine and Valerie and Linda, Uncle Don and Cricket and Jamie and Gwen and Susanna, Lois and Beryl, Deborah, Dion and Ray. Welcome, y'all. Take a deep breath and blow it out. Because you can. You see what I'm saying? Because you can, because we are alive today. Just that, so that's enough to make me delighted. Let me tell you about our special guest. He told me that the best thing to talk about him is say David Roth, NCW. No credentials whatsoever. But this man is magic, y'all. He's a fantastic songwriter and singer and just marvelous spirit. And I met him when we were at Swananoa at the singing camp a couple of years ago. And it seems like eons ago, you know? But we were both teaching classes. And so we joined together, both of our classes, to do some singing. And I was just blown away by the beautiful song that he had written, among many, and that we sang together. And so since then, I do like this. David's in the house, David's in the house. So join me in welcoming, and before I do that, reminder, the lyrics that he's going to share with us, they're in your chat. And also, if you're new and want more information, you need to talk to our fearless leader, Joe Rossi. Wave your hand, Joe, who's there for any additional information. And now, David, take it.
I don't know why, but I'm shaking here. I'm so nervous because I'm in the presence of Dr. Bullock and all of you right here in the middle of Black History Month, and here from Cape Cod where I'm broadcasting. I see some familiar faces, new to the Daily Antidote, and many of you I recognize as those who come almost every single time. So I truly come to you humbly and let the song speak for itself. The song we're going to do today, I started writing, and I say started writing, in 1992 with Ann Hills, the great singer from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And we were taking a 5-hour car ride from her home in PA down to Norfolk, Virginia to play at a little coffee house called Ramblin' Conrad's. Now, if you remember what a coffee house was, it's where you would actually go to a live music event and sit and listen to people play up close, and it's the folk thing, you know. On the radio in the car that day, it was a Tuesday, came the news of the Rodney King verdict in Los Angeles. And this sparked a 3-hour, 4-hour conversation between Ann and I. And we went back through some civil rights history. And by the time we got to Norfolk, we had written this song, built around Amazing Grace, which you know was written by John Newton, and that's a whole other story you may be familiar with. A man who had a moment of realization in the middle of being part of the slave trade. And he became an anti-slavery advocate and did things like wrote Amazing Grace, things like that along the way. So we sang this for the first time there in 1992 based on the Rodney King verdict, and then we went back to a couple other civil rights scenarios, all the way back to 1963 and the bombing of the Birmingham church, where 4 little girls were killed setting up for worship that day. And in all these instances, the response of the families who had been horrible victims of unspeakable acts, their response was forgiveness instead of retribution. So instead of adding on to the cycle of never-ending violence and hatred and polarization, they reached out and said, "We are forgiving." And that's the foundation of the song. I think I'll sing you a little bit of the refrain. It goes like this. When I sing Amazing Grace, your face is what I see. I hope someday that kind of grace will find its way through me. Try it. And when I sing Amazing Grace, your face is what I see. I hope someday that kind of grace will find its way through me. Sunday morning, Birmingham, quiet in the church. Bombs were planted, house of God, children's blood on the cross. And your daughter, she was one angel without wings. How could anyone forgive those who do such things? When I sing Amazing Grace, your face is what I see. I hope someday that kind of grace will find its way through me. Thursday afternoon in the car, we turned the radio on. The verdict in Los Angeles, oh, what have we done? Images of violence, yellow, black, and white. 52 dead and millions lost. Who can win this fight? Then on the screen, a face of tears, trembling through and through. One we've seen too many times, beaten on the news. I could barely hear his words, full of fear and doubt. People, we can't live like this. We've got to work this out. When I sing Amazing Grace, his face is what I see. I hope someday that kind of grace will find its way through me. Spring in Minneapolis, outside a tiny shop, a man is grabbed and cuffed and choked, and this was done by the cops. Not just for the 20 bucks he tried to spend inside 400 years of tyranny. This is why he died. He died because of prejudice passed on down the line, where brazen inhumanity is thought to be just fine. And he is not the only one. The list is far too long of those who had an unspent life, and this is always wrong. So when I sing Amazing Grace, his face is what I see. I hope someday that kind of grace will find its way through me. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
David, thank you so much for this heart-rending journey. The tears in my eyes, I can feel it from my head to my feet. As you just took us through this journey, marking the story and sharing it with such passion. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Oh my
I
goodness.
had tears in my eyes when you began playing the piano at the top of the hour.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's such a wonderful time. We are in a 2-week session that looking at songs of racial justice, and to have you to sing this story. Um, Tell me where you come from and now as you sing this story. Your thoughts
Thanks
about
for
this.
asking. I feel so unqualified to make a commentary other than from my little bubble, you know, which I've been poking and prodding to break out of, but there's so much to know. It's one of those things like where I feel like the more I know, the less I know. And of course, ideas for songs like this have been brewing this whole last year. And for year going back to 92 and beyond, you know, I've been trying to write songs like this that have meaning and perspective and respect. There's an interesting conversation going on the internet now about the song "This Land Is Your Land." This land is our land. And many Native Americans are very much in resistance to this song because it leaves out their perspective as the ones who were on this land. So for Woody Guthrie, in all his brilliance, his simple brilliance, to come in and say, "This land is your land, this land is our land," it's not our land. Yeah, this is the land we took. So that's a perfect example of a song I've been merrily singing for years, thinking, oh, and I'm sure Guthrie thought it was a great, great unifying song, but yet so easy to miss something so obvious when good intentions overwhelm everything else. So it's really been a wake up call to me as a writer and an artist to be careful and to be full of care about how I want to say what I'm commenting about, and to be sure. In fact, I've written other songs, and I've run them, the lyrics, by uh, friends of different colors. You know, many friends of different colors, and I thought I really had something, and they said, "Man, you missed it. You're really way off on this," and it's really given me pause to be careful about what I say.
But that's what community is about. We all come from our different perspectives, and the importance is being able to share. This is mine. Oh, but you have one. Let me hear yours. Or you have one. Too often, what happens in issues of race is perspectives like mine are not heard or not valued, so it feels shut down. And so then, happens to a person when they feel like they are not seen or not heard? Um, it's just damaging to the soul. And you continue to march and to move. I just see I need to acknowledge two of our song leaders, Peter Amadon and Leah Gilmar, in the house with us. And if you want to jump in here with some comments, please do so. Particularly as you sung about George Floyd, I was thinking about the profound impact that had not only on the nation but on the world. And Joe, you were sharing something about that particular incident that David sang about and how it related to us here at the Daily Antidote.
So, yeah, I think for folks who've been in this room with us for a long time, they know this, but for folks who are new, they might not. And I'm actually going to just back up for 1 second and say, David, one of the comments that you just brought up made me think of something that I just learned in another racial justice discussion, which is that part of our problem as white people has been not giving Black people the permission to reroute us. Like we actually need to give explicit permission that we are open to hearing, because oftentimes white people are not. And then you don't ever get to the dialogue part. So I thought that was beautiful that you said you brought it to your friends and you said, so how am I doing? And that your friends felt comfortable enough to say, like, actually, no, right? Like, here's where you missed this, or that's the way we're going to learn. So thanks for saying that. So the Daily Antidote of Song, we started in April of 2020, and it was a sort of a space to think about our own personal mental health and our own personal community building and a way of finding joy, and really focused on COVID and the fact that we had work to do because of this new virus that was here. But it wasn't that much longer, 6 or 7 weeks later, that George Floyd was murdered. And there was a transformation in this Daily Antidote space when that happened. We became a space in which we navigated an incredible instance of racial injustice together as a room, all of us learning, many of us learning at the same time. We were at different levels of learning, I would say, learning how and what to talk about, how to find more awareness, how we processed it together as a room. And that stuck. Like, this became a racial justice space or an anti-racist space because of the George Floyd murder. So I love that verse in particular because it's so of the time, meaning of our time, but it's like explicitly related to our time here. Like, it really did change who we are as a community and give us a lot more permission to talk. So Kathy, thank you for asking about that. And I don't know if Leah is still here or if she wants to say anything, but Leah, we'd love to hear from you if you feel like it, but you can take a pass too if you feel like being quiet.
I'm here. I just wanted to say, oh my God, I was absolutely stunned, and stunned in a good way, not stunned. Oh my God, what a surprise. A white guy could do this. Stunned and okay, seriously, that the level of depth and emotion and awareness put into that song is just so heartening. It is just, I'm gonna cry. I was crying while you were singing it. Yeah, exactly, Kathy. It's from our tradition. All we can do is bow our head and raise our hands because, honey, you had it. You hit the proverbial nails on the head. And as an African-American singer and performer, I thank you on behalf of all my people. But seriously, I do thank you so much for just being open and aware and wanting to learn and wanting to hear and making us equitable.
Yes. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you.
That is so well. Exactly. Okay. Can't even
I
talk
know.
anymore.
I'm mind blown. Really, I'm heart blown more than mind blown. I'm heart blown.
You have to, well, what it's like to be all your life always thinking positively, moving positively in places where people, they just don't get it and they don't see it. Some don't want to get it, like you said, Joe. But you still fusing on. Then when you have someone so beautifully to articulate what
Yes, yes,
what it
yes.
is. Our breath. It's just an appreciation. Um, because for me, for George Floyd, of course, it was not the first. You know,
That's right.
it was an ongoing story. So it wasn't. It was horrible, but not surprising, and that's sad but true.
Exactly.
And if you live all your life wanting to, praying that your son, your black son, will live to be 18, that's all. Just praying he's gonna live because so many don't. Not because of what they do or they don't, but because as a black young man in the U.S.,
Mm.
your chances of being done for no reason, So
We're
this,
criminalized,
yes,
we're criminalized. Black equals criminal. And
yes,
that's the unfortunate thing. So when you are heard beyond that, the
yes,
emotions come out,
yes, yes.
they
Sometimes we don't
really do.
realize how much we've been carrying, girl. It's been
Girl,
like,
what you talking about? I have two sons. I have two black sons. Let me
see,
tell you, there's so many, the burden of living in a society where you are inherently, no matter what the law says, unequal. We've been reading the book Caste lately, and the Caste so explains how these divisions have been created and structured. So when the music becomes that bridge over troubled waters,
say that.
it's just so amazing. Honey, we have to sing together one day, David. You just really, you've blown everything. I'm
See, I
inarticulate.
told you. I just don't. When the first time I heard him sing, I said the same thing. See what?
Yes.
You can't minimize, David, how powerful
No.
impact that is for somebody like me or like Leah. And I mean, this is what we do. We're sharing this, but
Mhm.
we can't even minimize it. Um, Woo! Okay, now
I'm with you.
Well, a few weeks ago, my old longtime friend Reggie Harris and
Oh, yes.
newer friend Chris
yes.
Matthews were on. I came to watch Chris lead a song, and the three of us got together and decided to try to write a song together. So we
Ooh.
came up with something, and one of these months, with their permission, I'll sing it with you guys, Joe. It's called we're on the same page.
Hmm.
With many different hearts singing different parts, but we're on the same
Mhm.
page. And
Wow.
even though we don't
Amen.
always get it, we're
Yeah.
still reading the same music.
I wanted to add one piece before we ask you to sing again, Dave, and
Yeah.
bring us back, take us back there again. And that was when you talked about the idea of forgiveness that you noted with people who have been cruelly treated, who have lost loved ones, and whether it's the bombing of the girls in Birmingham, the families, or families of George Floyd or Aubrey, or just down the list. How so many times we hear forgiveness instead of retribution. And to me, what I've grown up with and understand, there's something called justice. There
Mm.
was a fervent desire for justice, that people get their due for wrongdoing and acknowledge that. But hate, if it stays in your body, it destroys you. It gets into your hate. If it's in your
Mhm.
pores, it's something
Mm.
that is like cancerous. Hate can be.
Yeah.
So it's much more healing for the personal, to be able to move to the root of forgiveness. This is not saying that it's okay, and there's desire, like I'm saying, for justice for to be
Mhm.
done. But I'm not going to live in that hate because it will destroy me. If I just went
Mhm.
there thinking about all the in
Mm.
equities, all the things that have been unfairly I've seen and done, boy, I'd be like a crazy black woman. I'd be out everywhere shooting everybody. I would be having, look, it would just be too much. So I wouldn't even be able to contain it. So I make a choice to move my life as an agent of change,
Yes, yes.
and when those
Amen.
things happening, acknowledging them and putting that all that angst into my energy for
Mhm.
moving forward. It's not giving people a pass, but it is that forgiveness is a part of that healing.
Amen.
So I wanted to add that perspective. I think, um, in when you see this, and pop also in my tradition, the way that I've been raised. My dad's Baptist minister, like South, so that's the way we roll. That's
Yeah. Kendra Spears, girl. I'm married to a Baptist pastor.
Oh, oh, God bless you. Church say,
Well, let
amen.
the church say amen.
Yeah.
Hey, but you know what? I'm Presbyterian. Okay. No, I'm still bringing the fever, girl. I'm still bringing the fever. Yes, yes, yes.
Was blind, but now
Yes, Lord.
I see. Take us back here. Do y'all have any other anything else you want to add, Peter? You got anything you want to say? Hey, before we go.
Just briefly, I just want to thank you. I'm never going to think of Amazing Grace. I mean, it's a great, great song, Amazing Grace, but I'll never think of it the same again, David. So thank you for that. And Kathy and I have been friends for a long time, but I just met Leah recently, and I wanted to say something to Leah that I was privileged to be on the show on this amazing experience and community with Leah. It was January 7th.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just remember, Leah, I just want to thank you for what you kind of reflected, and it's similar to what Kathy was saying about how you deal with the anger that you felt and trying to make it, I certainly can't say it, but it was just something about how to make it constructive, how to deal with it so it doesn't destroy you and doesn't it makes you, do you remember that, Leah? It was just really,
yeah. Oh, it's so good to see you, by the way. Yeah, it's great. Yes, Kathy just hit again the proverbial nail on the head. And so we feel anger because we're humans. We cannot live in a world where we are always subjugated to less, where we are always put at the bottom, where we're even in progressive communities where we're not intellectual equals. We're always the people that need to be helped. So of course that makes you angry, but what you do is you redirect it.
Right.
You just redirect that energy because you can't live in that space. None of us can live in that space. It will destroy us. Yes. And what we need is more positivity. I know it sounds woo-woo and we are the world and everything, but we need it. We got to be more positive. Go ahead, Kathy.
By choice. No, I'm just saying amen. I'm in the amen corner. I mean, you said it. That's right. And it's not a weakness. It really is a
strength. That's it. That's it. It's not a weakness. That's it.
Yes. So we're remaining strong. And we get tired, we get angry, and all of those things. Everybody does. This is the human thing. So then we lift each other up in the community.
I remember my mother when she looked at Roots. She looked, that miniseries, she had to go to work. She said, I don't know how. This is with the 70s. I don't know how I'm going to walk into my job, because I'm so angry. But then she came back home and said, everyone said, oh, I saw Roots. And they felt so, it's a strange dynamic we have in this country. It's very binary. It's very black and white when there's so many other things going on, But what we have to do is look at each other with hope instead of looking with each other with fear.
Oh, yes. And I think, Storm, I just saw this quote. He said, if you're going to, what was that about? Hate, it was powerful. Oh, if you desire to kill someone with hatred, better dig 2 graves. Wow, baby.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
Big girl.
I can't be around Miss Liz because she just made me act up. It's all her fault. Yes. Okay. David Roth.
We're making folks crazy.
Take us back, David. Bring us on into it.
Yes.
As we close out this. Do we have any other announcements, Joe? No, we're okay. Love you all. And he's gonna sing us out, going back to our sing song of Amazing Grace.
I just want to read one of the things I saw in the chat. I love this. Well, I don't love it, but it hits right to the point. There's a saying that hate is like poisoning yourself and expecting the other person to die.
Yes.
And I see a lot here in the chat. I'd love to go and respond to some of the private inquiries, but instead of doing that, would you just write me an email, those of you who have asked me something specific, at davidrothmusic gmail.com. Just send me an email, and I'm going to sit with this for a while after we're done. And I'm just taking in so much from listening to you all. I think I'll just do the song again, but there's a total of 8 verses. And interestingly enough, the one, someone asked me to sing the one about Sandy Hook. And I'm looking at the lyrics here, and the last line of that verse is, at last we draw the line. Well, the line is being crossed and will be crossed again, I'm afraid to say. So, like I said, this is a song I never hoped to write more verses to, but it's got a framework that reminds me to bring in this forgiveness to break that cycle of violence. So I'll do 3 of the verses I didn't do. There's 8, and I'm doing a little online concert Wednesday night at 7:30. It's sort of a love concert for Valentine's Day, but one of the segments that I do is going to be this song in its entirety, from beginning to end. It's going to be like a mini series, I guess. But what other songs to sing? And I want to thank Joe for creating this format for us to have these discussions where I learned one of the most important lessons: shut up and listen. All right, let's go back in history a little bit more. Thursday afternoon, no, we did that one. Friday evening in Mobile, Klansmen killing time. They saw young Michael walking by. He would do just fine. Quiet student, mother's best, pleading for his life. They strung him up to make their point sharper than a knife. Then Beulah May, his mother, stood, people all around, in the courtroom listening as the truth was found. From her mouth no curses fell, no profanity. I would do to others what I'd have them do to me. So when I sing Amazing Grace, her face is what I see. I hope someday that kind of grace will find its way through me. Now it's Wednesday evening in Wyoming, started in a bar, ended on a wooden fence, dragged off in a car. Second Friday funeral, countless gathered round. Oh, some were there to mourn a loss, and others to confound. Some were there to cry the tears born of grief and rage, while others carried signs that said, a cure for fags is AIDS. Matthew Shepard lost his life, his parents lost their son. Now he brings a cause to light in reluctant martyrdom. So when I sing Amazing Grace, his face is what I see. I hope someday that kind of grace will find its way through me. Now December in Connecticut, with Christmas round the bend, 20 kids and 6 adults, and one without a friend. Sandy Hook will never be the way it was before, and neither will a country till we stop this bloody war. The war that comes from isolation, anger, grief, and pain, and laws that let a troubled soul act upon his rage. There's not a single moment left, for now the die is cast. In memory of 27, we draw the line at last. When I sing Amazing Grace, his face is what I see. I hope someday some kind of grace will find its way through me. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
David Roth, thank you so much for that incredibly beautiful, amazing song, amazing journey. And, you know, we started today with Kathy saying, take a breath because you can. And I actually think, take a breath, everybody. Not even necessarily because we can, just because we need to. You know, I mean, I don't know what everybody does when they leave this room every day. But today's maybe a good day to just sit quietly for a minute, think about where we've all just gone together, and sort of brings it back to the verse that you just sang about Matthew Shepard and the idea of being a reluctant martyr. And, you know, we talk sometimes of the notion of people not dying in vain. And it's hard to say anything good comes out of anybody dying, because that's a completely mixed up thought. But here we are in this space having these conversations really directly because of George Floyd's murder. We are really here having these conversations because of that. And what would make it not in vain would be if we really don't backslide, would be if we really don't go back to sleep, would be if we really make this about something bigger, keep it going. You know, in this space in here, we have conversations. They're oftentimes a little one-sided. Sometimes you're just hearing from us and more than you're getting to say things yourself. We've talked a lot as a group about the fact that the Constructive White Conversations group that Dan Zanes runs gives us an opportunity also to talk and to find our way. I think David said a little bit of this, but sometimes we are learning as we speak. Sometimes the words that come out of our mouth, we don't understand, and someone points out to us how we could have done better, how we could open our eyes wider. And so there are lots of spaces. This room is a good space for growing and learning and hearing and sometimes talking, and Constructive White Conversations is another one. And I hope you guys will continue to join us there in the upcoming months. Kathy, David Roth, Leah Gilmore, Peter Amadon, can we all please say thank you to the whole gang who came into this space today and made it an unbelievable space. I absolutely love it when artists who are not on show up. So we thank you because we know you show up a lot and you do a lot of work, and showing up here is a super appreciated piece of what you do. All right, now, how about if we give David another thank you? And then how about if we give Kathy Bullock sort of like a Kathy Bullock? All right, there we go. Kathy Bullock, I'm gonna do you. That's what I'm gonna do. All right. I want to thank everybody again. I want to say goodbye to everybody on Facebook Live. For anybody out there on Facebook, you know, you're always welcome to join us here in the room. You can find the link on rebelsdc.org/daily-song, and you can actually join us in the room. We're glad you're out there. Thanks for joining.